My name is Johan Asbrouk. I am the Executive Chairman of the Centor Group in Thailand and in Asia, and I'm also honored to be the Chair of the Standing Committee on Seed Technology. That's the reason why we are going to start with the first webinar on longevity of seeds.
This is the first webinar that APSA has done. I would ask that you please keep your microphone muted. If you have questions, in the bottom of your GoToMeeting screen, you will see a text box. If you have questions, please type your question there. Dr. Dedlani will take note of them, and Johan will answer those questions at the end of the session. Please do not turn on your camera because everybody in the session will be able to see you if you do so, and it will slow down our internet speed as well. So please keep your camera turned off. You should also right now be able to see the PowerPoint presentation. Welcome to the first ever APSA webinar. We appreciate your feedback. You've all got my email address if you want to provide me with feedback on the session after it. We are also trying to get this session posted on our APSA website following this, and this is hopefully what will be the first of many capacity building and training webinars that will be offered from our special interest groups and standing committees. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our webinar presenter today, which is Mr. Johan Asbrouk, who is the General Manager and Director of Centor Thai, and he's going to share with us some great information on the shelf life of seeds and some storage ideas for you. So take it away, Johan.
Thank you. Let's immediately start with the topic itself, and the topic is shelf life, and in more particular, how to master your seed warehouse management. How can we do that? Now we're done. We're ready for storing some seeds in a decent way. A question we all have is, how does your company decide what seed lot should be stored till next season? And what seed lot should be sold this year? When you ask that to many companies, you hear many different answers. Some will tell you, we use first in, first out system. Other people will look to the seed quality and decide on a higher vigor or lower vigor to be sold or to be stored. And some people will tell you, no, we want to work with an accelerated aging test or a controlled deterioration test. Some companies even told me that seed lot closest to the door goes first because that's the easiest one. Now, what is right and what is wrong? In fact, there are two major conditions that need to be perfect if we want to store. And the first one is the environment. Temperature, moisture content, and oxygen. Moisture content linked to relative humidity, equilibrium, relative humidity, water activity, all those things. Beside the environmental conditions, also your seed-related conditions has to be good. Your quality, your genetics, but definitely also your maturity. Only when those two conditions are met, only then you will get a decent storability. You need both. And the two most important parts in those things is moisture content is the key for the environmental conditions, while maturity is key for the more seed-related conditions. So let's first look to the environmental conditions, where we know that moisture is the key constraint. We do have a number of general thumb rules, and we all know them. But let's go quickly over them again. The first is the rule of James, and James says the temperature in Celsius plus the percentage of RH should be lower than 60. Now, let me tell you that is a minimum constraint. That does not mean that 60 is perfect. It means that above 60 is definitely not good enough. But we should not say, oh, it's 60, so my storability is perfect. 50 will do a much better job than 60. The second rule is the rule of Harrington. And Harrington says if you can decrease the moisture content with 1%, you double the shelf life. Or if you can decrease the temperature with 6 degrees Celsius, you can double your shelf life. As an example, you could say I store seeds at 10% moisture content in a warehouse. What would happen if we can reduce that to 7%? 2 times 2 times 2 means I will have an 8 times longer shelf life, according to Harrington's rule. Dr. Bradford came with the metronome rule. Every seed has a number of ticks, and the environment will speed up those ticks or slow them down. And you can all the time influence. You bring seeds in a better area, the ticks will slow down. You bring seeds to a more humid form, the ticks will speed up. You can always adapt, but the ticks that are gone are gone. You don't get them back. There is no repair possible. You can only improve from the moment you start to improve. One thing with the Harrington rule where I know which is very important is the water content of the air and the impact of the temperature. And please allow me to go a little bit deeper here, because I do see many companies really trying to do a great job and losing the benefits. Let me explain. 1 kilogram air can contain a certain amount of water at 20 degrees, represented here by that box. If I increase the temperature to 35, the box increases. Now, what is 1 kilogram air? By the way, 1 kilogram is more or less equal to 1.2 cubic meter. It depends on the barometric pressure, etc., etc. But what happens if I cool that air down from 20 to 10? My box becomes smaller. And to 5, my box even becomes more smaller. Now, what is RH? RH is the relative humidity. That is the amount of moisture in that air compared to the maximum amount of moisture that air can contain. So, in our example of 20 degrees, this should be 50% RH. And if you calculate that, that would be 8 grams of water would that air hold. And that would be 50% RH. Now, what happens if I heat that air to 35? The box becomes bigger, but there is no water added or disappearing. So your 8 gram remains 8 gram. So suddenly your air will have 20% RH. And in the other fact, if I cool down to 10, I get 85% RH. And I cool further down to 5, I get 100% RH, and only 7 gram can remain in the air. So 1 gram of water will start to be condensed, or will coming out as rain or snow or whatever, but it will become liquid. Now, what is the impact of that on seed storage? Imagine chili seeds, and I put chili seeds in my warehouse at 20 degrees and 50% RH. Or the temperature in my warehouse goes up or goes down. in the first case, I have 9% moisture content. But if in equilibrium with the 35, I go to 5% moisture content because I have 20% relative humidity. Or in the case of the 10 degrees, I get 21% humidity. So my shelf life will be from days to months to years. Cooling a warehouse can be very beneficial if you can maintain the same moisture content. A warehouse with tin cans of sealed plastic bags, cooling that warehouse will be doing a great job to improve your shelf life. But a warehouse with jute bags or woven plastic bags, cooling the warehouse will have a benefit on temperature, but your seeds will get a higher moisture content. And in fact, you will have an adverse effect on your storability. So you have to be very careful. If you cool, you always need to make sure that you can keep your moisture content constant. Otherwise, you do a wrong job. Other storage problems can be reduced at a low RH. For example, insects. Insects are not active under the 35% RH. Fungi are not active under the 65% RH. So drying your seeds to a moisture content that is sufficiently low would stop the effect of your insects or your fungi. And that's why Dr. Ken Bradford and myself, we worked on the dry chain concept. And the dry chain concept is a way very similar to the cold chain concept. But instead of making something cold and keeping it cold, here our slogan is make it dry, keep it dry. This can be a huge impact, especially for seed storage, where if you can dry your seeds from the beginning and keep them dry, you will increase the vigor, the quality, and definitely you will increase shelf life. So the real issue here is we should make something dry and we would keep it dry. The problem here was that we do need to have a drying system for that would be affordable, easy, fast, efficient, and with low investment costs. We developed the drying beads, which is one of the tools that you could use, and those tools would give a seed company the ability to dry their seeds to a sufficiently low moisture content and therefore reap the benefits of their work. I hear you asking already, what is sufficiently low? It depends on what you want to achieve. If you want to store your seeds with an ambient temperature and nevertheless have a not big deterioration of your quality and no insect damage, a 25-30% RH should do the job, which means, depending oil content of different species, something between 6 and 9% moisture content for most species. But before I go further, let me please take one step aside. When Graham Alexander Bell invented the telephone, he wrote a letter to Western Union. And Western Union was at that time, and still is, one of the leading technology companies linked to communication. And what did Western Union answer? The idea of installing telephones in every city is idiotic. Why would any person want to use this ungainly and impractical device when he can send a messenger to the telegraph office and have a clear written message sent to any large city in the US? This telephone has too many shortcomings to be seriously considered as a means of communication. The device is inherently of no value to us. Thank you. Bye-bye. Were those people stupid? Crazy? No, they were the most brilliant minds in the world at that time on communication. But at that time, a telephone was not very easy. It was not very efficient. The message I want to give here, if you go for a new technology, whatever that technology is, drying, storage, quality, vigor, whatever, you have to focus on the benefits. There will be shortcomings, and those who win are those who will be able to deal with those shortcomings. If you are not ready to do that, you better wait till a technology is fully accepted and fully developed. You will lose the benefits of an early adopter, but you will not have the problems of them. So new technologies always will need something special from you. You cannot get it for free. There is work to be done. Coming back to our drying beads, this is a test done by the University of Angrao in Hyderabad, where they used onion seeds. They dried onion seeds classical way, sun drying and so on. Average moisture content 9%. Stored them in the classical bags like they use and in the normal warehouse like they do. And the germination from 85 went down to 40 over the period of 1 year. If you dry the seeds deeper to 5%, and you store them in a sealed bag in the same warehouse, ambient warehouse, 85 remained 85. Is that the beads? No. It is the fact that you will be able to dry to 5%. That's the key. Another example, thanks to USAID, we gave a lot of trainings on drying and storage in Bangladesh, and one of the major vegetable seed companies there openly declared we tested this new technology and concluded that these beads are drying our seeds faster and deeper, obtaining a better quality result and a longer storage potential. And all this with lesser costs. Therefore, we made the executive decision to move ahead with implementing these beads for all our seeds and crops as soon as possible. And I can give you a lot of examples where things worked out. I can also give you examples where things in the beginning did not work out because we were not using it in the right way. Now, all of this, we went from manual systems, drying beads, bags, boxes, drums, simple, straightforward, perfect for small quantities, breeder seeds, foundation seeds, up till a few tons. It works very well. We went from that to a complete automatic system, which are now finalized for beta testing, and they are going to reach the market. For seeds, but also for commodities. We are talking and working with people to develop dryers for 20 to 50 ton per hour of a certain commodity to be dried. Message is drying your seeds sufficiently and as early as possible does make the difference. Make it dry, keep it dry. Drying your seeds as fast as you can, you keep them dry. Your storability will be greatly enhanced. The The second part was the seed-related issues, where maturity was a key constraint. And here we start with the mystery of life. Something really wonderful. I am still boggled by the fact that a plant can produce small little tiny things that will on themselves start to become a new plant. A seed will establish, first of all, the ability to germinate. It's the first thing that will happen. Oops. The second part will happen is after that, the seed will develop a desiccation tolerance. At least all the orthodox seeds will develop a desiccation tolerance, the ability to be dried and to stay alive. And after that, seeds will start to produce energy reserves, sugars, lipids, starch. They will produce certain things, store them in order to create energy reserve, to create vigor. But after that, those seeds will start to prepare themselves for storage time, for a time where seeds will be dried and not able to grow. There a lot of activities are going on in the seed. For example, DNA strains that are open to be copied will start to coil up into a small ball so that oxygen will be less easy attack and destroy certain parts of your genetic information. You can also explain that in another way, in a chart, in a graph, and this is the days after anthesis, a percent of the maximum. The first thing that will happen is germination. The second, desiccation tolerance. After that, we create vigor. And last but not least, we will set up longevity. University of Wageningen, Henk Jalink, found that chlorophyll level is reduced during this process. And because it's reduced during this process, it gives us a possibility to find out where we are. Give you an explanation. If we harvest on this time A, what you see is germination is good, vigor will be very low. So we have a low vigor seed lot. And we all know that. Premature, no vigor. So we harvest later. Vigor already much better, but not perfect. It's okay, but it could be better. Now, okay, C, perfect. Good germination, good vigor. Good quality seeds. Yes, but if you store them, the storability will suffer. You should harvest here, where your germination, your vigor is good, and your storability is much better. You can go further, but then you get an increased risk of shedding of your seeds and losing a part of the quantity of your seeds. So if you work on that, you can see and you would say, A, it's not good, you cannot use it. B is a low vigor seed lot. C is a very good seed lot. But you should sell it now. Don't store those seeds, because those seeds will lose their potential very fast. While a seed lot with D, much better. Now, how can we measure chlorophyll? Also in Wageningen, they found that chlorophyll has a fluorescence. And by measuring the fluorescence, we can identify the quantity of chlorophyll on those seeds. How does that work? Quite simple principle. You have a seed, you shine a laser of a red light at 670 nanometers, and the fluorescence will reply and fluoresce at 690 and 730 nanometers. 690 nanometer is a little bit too close to 670, is difficult to measure, but the 730 is perfect. So we take the 730 and we measure that. So we developed a machine that does that, and what you see here is, for example, this rice sample. You see the dark colored seeds, very little fluorescence, means very little chlorophyll, means very mature seeds. The light colored seeds, a lot of fluorescence, a lot of chlorophyll, therefore less mature. This is cabbage, and for almost every crop we can see and measure that. A few crops are not possible, for example onion seeds, due to the fact that onion seeds are a true black color. And black absorbs all wavelengths, so it also absorbs the fluorescence, so you cannot see it. One more data to go further there. We worked on carrot seeds. A commercial seed production company produced a lot of carrot seeds. We took the chlorophyll value of all those samples. Germination, on the other axis, a correlation of 0.92. We have a correlation of 0.95 on the germination after 1 year. We have a correlation above 90 on controlled iteration tests, and so on. So we can see there is really a big correlation between the chlorophyll value and your storability of your seeds. Only if you master those different elements, you can make the right decisions and manage your inventory. Otherwise, you will be managed by your inventory. To repeat, two major conditions: environmental conditions and seed-related conditions. Environmental conditions, the key aspect is water, moisture content, relative humidity. That's the key. On the other side, you need also your seed to be ready for storability. And their maturity is the key in order to get that. Seek professional help and advice, because managing your inventory pays off very quickly. My old boss asked me one time when I was working for a seed company, Johan, where you think our company make profit? And I said, by selling seeds, I hope. And he laughed and he said, no, by managing our warehouse. Because if we have to throw seeds away, we lose money. If we don't have any seeds left in our warehouse, it means we could have sold more and we lost opportunities. So managing the warehouse is key as a company to make profits. We all know that. Therefore, stand out in the crowd. Thank you. We have one question here. Composition of drying beads. Composition of drying beads, it's a zeolite clay. It's a clay, it's baked clay, so it's a ceramic, but it's a ceramic in a crystalline form. And I would like to make the comparison with charcoal and a diamond. Both are carbon, but the one is an amorph structure while the other one is a crystal form. Normal ceramics is an amorph form, while the beads is a crystalline form of a ceramic. So beads only absorb water. Now for our seeds, it's maybe not that important, but especially for produce, for food, the fact that you keep nutritional value, etc., makes a hell of a difference. Okay, do we have more questions?
Yes, we have.
Okay. Very good question. The question is, can seed drying replace cold storage? Or is drying another additional step to be done so that longevity can go up further? In fact, on both parts, I have to say yes. It all depends. Now, we did do a lot of work in Bangladesh with companies. We proved that you can store seeds ambient and maintain the quality sufficiently for selling, so you have only a few % drop in germination after 2 years. But then you need to be really dry, 25% equilibrium RH. So for most vegetables is that around 6%. For most agro crops would that be around 8–9%. But at the same time, you can also use it with cold. Without cold, your storability can be much better. The best way to check that is you have the Ellis and Roberts equation. And there I can tell you that with APSA we developed on an Excel file with that equation on it, and that will be now next month going to everybody who was in our committee meeting during the last Congress. Can I ask Heidi that we can extend that also to the people who are here on this webinar?
Definitely, definitely. If you'd like to have it, please just send us an email.
Yeah. So, and then you can really see what is the effect, how does it work. You put in, for example, I use tomato seeds, my moisture content is 8%, my warehouse has 20 degrees, my initial quality is 95, and I'm going to store my seeds for 6 months. What would be the germination after those 6 months? Is it precise? No, but it gives you a very good idea. And then you can play with those things and see how you can use it the best. Another question?
Is it reusable?
Yes. It is a ceramic. How many times can you use a cup? As long as you don't break it, you can use that cup. Now, that's easy said. The fact is that the pore size of those beads are extremely small, so only water can go in. Only water cannot block pores. Therefore, the pores will always remain open. So the beads are reusable many, many, many times, even much longer than I would like to as a commercial company. But reality is reality, so you can use it long time. If we are not using drying bead, but using dehumidified dryer, which will be the range of temperature and relative humidity. Okay, if you use a dehumidified dryer, or a drying bead is very similar. A drying bead will bring the RH of the environment to 0, while a dehumidified dryer will bring it to 10, 20, 30, 40, whatever, how you can work with that. So you will have to look to the equilibrium relative humidity, and again that Excel file can give you also there the chromaty equation, who you can tell for what temperature and at what RH, what crop will give you what equilibrium moisture content. Now you can do that, it's not a problem. So you can work both things out. Drying beads is not something special. It only gives you the chance to dry deep without using heat. And I think that is the key. A lot of academics are telling me that ultra dry is bad for your seeds. A lot of academics are telling me ultra drying is no problem for your seeds. I think they're both right. Because it's not the drying that makes the problem, it's the way how you get your seeds dry. If you dry your seeds with a high temperature, your high temperature will impact the quality of your seeds, not the fact that they are dry. One trick there, once you want to use dried seeds, let the seeds first rehumidify in their own speed. When you find a guy in the desert, you're not going to give him 5 liters of water in one time to drink. You give him 1 cup. And you say, now you wait half an hour, and I give you half a cup again. The same thing is happening to your seeds. Don't speed it up. Give the seed the chance to take in moisture again at their own speed, and then you get that done. As we are storing seeds in cold, after a few months from there to sell, we test, it comes good, but after time seeds in the field show less germination. It could be vigor. That's one part, what I would say. I would say there the problems you get is not on your environmental conditions, but the problem here would be rather be on your seed thing. I would first of all check if my seeds are really sufficiently mature. Many companies always tell me, our field people, they know their seeds. They have the feeling, they feel it. And that's true for what germination is concerned, and maybe for what is vigor concerned. My things I found is that often those people do not know that part of longevity, storability. So there, I would say check that out there and we can work on that.
That's the last question that we have up. Thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you to all of our participants out there all over the world for joining us here at APSA. Again, we would love to have your feedback on your experience for this webinar today. So you all got the information or the invitation for this from me, so please do feel free to send me back your feedback. And to the head of our Seed Technology Committee, thank you so much for the first ever APSA webinar, and we look forward to having many more of these in the future.
Okay. If there are more questions, do not hesitate. Send them or to APSA or to me personally. We will see how we can help further. Great. That's the aim of the committee, after all, I guess.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
For sure. Stay tuned for news for our next webinar. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.